Morning, folks. I've been asked to go into some more detail about the Bauer and about the Master propane forced air heaters because I happen to have both. And in my first video, I said I like the Master better because it's going to last better, and there's a couple of other reasons. There's one feature about the Bauer that I actually like better than the Master, but only one. But anyway, I'm going to get into some details here, and I'm going to do some tests. I've got the kilowatt meter hooked up. I'm going to show you just how many watts each of them pull, and I'm going to test the sound level for you, and I'm going to take a temp gun and show you the difference on low and high when you're shooting the inside of the cone of the heater here, just to show you that yes, the heat output does change. But neither one of these is going to be any more efficient than the other one because, you know, that's all related to the amount of fuel that you're burning. So I don't think efficiency is going to come into play here. What is going to come into play is just features and how long they're going to last, maybe safety a little bit, and where you should and shouldn't use these. Now, in the book, we're going to start with the Bauer. It says clearly, if we can focus here, this heater is designed for use as a construction heater, intended to be used in a temporary heating situation of a building or a construction area or under repair. I didn't read it word for word. I just put it in my own words. But anyway, they're saying like use this when you're building a house or, you know, remodeling a house or in a construction area, something like that. Okay. Now the Master is pretty similar. It says not for use in residential living areas or non-adequately non-adequately ventilated enclosed spaces. Okay, says not for home or recreational vehicle use. Okay, well, I can understand them putting that in there, but also, you know, I know logic and I know how people are, and they're logical, and you're not going to buy a heater just to set outside. It's not going to do you any good to sit outside with it. Now, I mostly use these in my shop here, and my shop is a 36 by 60, and it's got a pretty high ceiling. I'm gonna let y'all look around a little. My shop is a mess. I still hadn't got it cleaned up like I want to, but you know, this is a very large shop. It's got 12 by 12 doors, got a big loft. It's full of stuff. I don't have enough room in here. I need to add on another 60 feet that way. Okay, let's get back to the heaters. 2 of these will warm this shop up 20 degrees when it's 40 outside in about 30 minutes. And I do use them inside, but I'm not recommending that you do. I can't do that. You're going to have to use your own judgment, and you're going to have to, you know, take your own safety into consideration, and you're going to have to locate your propane bottles where you think they're most safe and so forth like that. Now, right now, I've got a 100-pound bottle right here and a 20-pound bottle right here just set up just for testing. Now, I will tell you, I leave this 100-pound bottle inside this shop all the time, but I don't like it. I'd rather put it outside. And there's a feature with the Master that would allow you to drill a hole in the wall and just locate your bottle outside, and it'd be a lot less trouble than doing that with the Bauer. Because to turn the Bauer off properly, you got to go to the bottle and turn the valve off. You can't just turn the gas off at the heater itself. But we'll get into that in more detail here in a minute. I'm going to put y'all on a tripod, and I'm going to start the Bauer up, and I'm going to go through all the tests on it, and I'm going to write it all down. And then I'm going to perform the same test on the master, and I'm going to write that all down, and then we're going to talk about these heaters some more. Let me get y'all set up here. Now I'm trying to do this without any editing, and that's hard to do. It's hard to get everything good enough that you don't have to edit. But I'm doing this on my phone, and my memory in my phone stays so full that it's difficult for me to edit. This is a 128 gig phone, and it sets around 113 on the memory all the time. Of course, my SD card's got way more than that, but I can't use KineMaster, you know, with a SD card. That has to work through the phone's internal memory, and I just don't have enough. I need a 250 gig phone or something. Anyway, I'm gonna get on to the testing on the Bauer right here. Now to start the Bauer, you turn your gas on, and then you got to push a button. You got to turn it on right here. That just turns your fan on. Okay, and then you got to hold down on this button right here while you push this gas starter button. That just starts your gas flowing. So, and then the thermocouple will get hot and it'll stay going. But anyway, let's get it going and go through these few little old tests right here. All right, holding the button. There she is. Now I've got that on the very lowest setting. I hope y'all can hear me. I've got the knob screwed all the way in on the gas control. Now you can't turn that heater off at the heater. Well, you probably could, but it'd be damaging to the heater. If you flip that fan switch off, I think the heater would go off. But that's not good for the heater because it doesn't have a chance to cool down before the fan stops running. So I like to shut my gas off at the bottle with this Bauer and let it run for a minute and a half or at least a minute or something just to cool the housing down before I turn the fan off. Now, with the master, you don't have to go to the bottle to shut it off to do that. All right, I'm gonna go over here and I'm gonna look and see how many watts it's drawing. I'm gonna write that down. All right, we're looking at 47.3 watts. Okay, 47.3 on the fan. All right, now I'm gonna turn it up because somebody asked me a question: does the fan draw more watts when you turn it up? And I don't think it does. I think the fan speed stays the same, and I think the amp draw stays the same. But we're gonna see. I'm gonna turn it up, and we'll check it again. All right, that's wide open. That's as far as it'll go. It's still sitting right on 47.3, so it's the same. No difference. All right, so low and high, it pulls 47.3 watts on the fan. So if you had this running on an inverter, say during an outage or something, that's all you're going to draw is 47.3 watts. You could definitely run that on the inverter really easy. Now the next two tests, I'm going to check the decibels and I'm going to check the temperature on low and on high. I'm not going to bother checking it in the middle. I'm just going to check it on low and on high as far as the temperature. And I'm just going to be shooting the inside of the cone right there. You know, that's just to show you there is a difference. I could have set something up out here in front of it, a piece of metal, and took the temperature of that. But all I'm really trying to do is show you, yes, the temperature does change. It does get hot. So I'm going to check the decibels on low and on high. I'm writing that down here on my manual. Writing low and high here ahead of time. Tell you what, this pencil doesn't erase good. I done almost made a mistake there. I'm gonna get her logged here. All right. All right, I got a maximum of 83 decibels on low. So I'm gonna write that down. All right, now we're gonna set it on high and check it. It's not significantly louder. It sounds like it to my ear, because this meter only says 83.1. So 3 feet away from it here, it's only like 69 decibels. It only goes up to 83 when I put it right over there to it. I'm gonna set it here at 3 feet away, and I'm gonna turn it down and see if it gets quieter 3 foot away. I think that's what it does. I think it's quieter when you're about 3 feet away from it, and right around the unit, it's gonna be pretty much the same. Okay, yeah, maybe it's a couple of decibels quieter, just a couple, around 67 when it's on low. That's not significant. All right, now we're gonna check the temperature. All right, this is on low. It's basically about 882 degrees. It locked in at 879. All right, now I'm gonna turn it up and see what we get. All right, cone went up to 1,085 degrees Fahrenheit. So, yeah, we're hotter. I didn't write that down. 1,085. I don't remember what the low temperature was now. But I'm going to write it. I'm going to go back and check it, and we'll go ahead and write it down. Might want to talk about that some more. It's still hot from being turned up. I think it was around 830 something. I'm just going to write down 830. I think it was 830 something. I don't know. Y'all can look back. All right. Now I'm going to talk about a little detail here about the Bauer that I like. The electric igniter is not running right now because you have to push the button when you're pushing the starter button, the primer button, whatever you want to call it. That's like a pilot light, basically, on a vent-free gas heater is what that button there is. But the electric igniter doesn't run all the time, which to me, that is good. for one, I think it's going to draw, I hadn't tested the master yet, but I think the Bauer is going to draw just a little bit less wattage because the igniter's not running all the time. And the igniter is going to last longer, you know, providing it's a quality igniter. But now, we come to the point here, and we got to turn this heater off. Okay, well in the manual it says to turn the bottle off, because that's the only way to shut it off without turning off the main switch, which kills the fan. Now, I've never done this, but I'm going to do it for y'all. Just this one time. I've never done that to this heater. But we need to know what this heater is going to do in the case of a power outage. Because the fan's going to go off if that happens and the gas is not. Now, I've got a fire extinguisher sitting right here behind y'all. Of course, I'll have to knock the tripod down to get to it, but okay, whatever. I'm going to flip that switch off and simulate a power outage so we know how this thing's going to act. You know, like I said, normally I wouldn't do that, but just this one time's not going to hurt it. We're going to see if that kills the propane or not. If it don't, I'm going to reach down there and just shut it off on the bottle right quick. Okay, y'all ready? Okay, well it went off. And there's no gas flowing. I'm going to go ahead and shut it off on the bottle and turn the fan back on, let this thing cool a little bit. Now, what you should do is you should shut this unit off at the bottle and let that fan continue to run. Which, by the way, the decibels is a whole lot lower when it's just the fan running and there's not any forced gas coming through there. That's like 53.3 decibels with just the fan sitting there running. Okay. I'm going to turn that off and I'm going to set it over here out of my way, and I'm going to drag this master out here and we're going to go through the same thing on it. And I'm going to show you about that igniter running all the time, but I'm also going to show you that you can kill the gas at the heater without killing the fan. But there's something else. You can kill the gas at the heater without killing the fan on the master, but as soon as you plug that master in, the fan goes to running. It does not have a fan switch on the unit. So there are differences in these. This has a fan switch on the unit, but not a gas valve. That has a gas valve on the unit, but no fan switch. All right, here we go. I'm going to plug it in and the fan's going to start running. All right, y'all hear that? That igniter's running all the time in there. I don't know if you can see it. But the igniter's already running. And this one's 70 decibels when I'm not talking. It's 70 decibels instead of 53. So the master is louder right away before you even light the heater, before you even turn any gas on. It's 70 decibels or better. So that tells me the fan is forcing more air. Wish I had one of them wind meters to put in front of it, but I don't. All right, I'm going to check the wattage and we're going to write that down. That's the next step in all this. Okay, we're setting at 59.7 watts. And we were 43.3 watts on the Bauer. So, yeah, I'm pulling more watts. Be interesting to see if it pulls more watts when you got it on high and it's functional. Alright, I'm going to turn the gas on and I'm going to start this heater on low and we're going to go through them tests. Now the ignition button on this one, and the button you push to get the gas started, is you push your control knob in, you turn it to 1 and you hold it in, it's spring loaded. When you hold that in, it does the same thing as what you might call a primer button on that valve. So you got to hold that in until the thermocouple gets hot enough that it'll stay burning. Alright, let's check it. Alright, we're at 89. Where's my pencil go? There it is. We're at 89 decibels. Y'all getting to see the side of my face here. I wish you wouldn't. I'm having a ride here. Basically, that was 89 decibels on low. Temperature in the cone right there is about 692 on low. Alright, this heater has low, medium, and high, but I'm just going to do the low and the high. .92 decibels, so it's quite a bit louder. The cone temperature is 1,088. There it is again, 1,088 on high. All right. I still like this better even though it's louder. I normally run it on low. I'm in this shop, I've usually got this one on low. And that is a good little bit quieter. Alright, I'm going to turn this off the way I normally do. Alright, I've got the gas turned off with the valve on the heater. I'm going to let it run a few seconds here. Maybe not as long as I usually do, but just a few seconds before I unplug it and turn the fan off. Now you could put you a switch in it. You know something? I forgot all about something. I didn't check to see how many watts this thing was drawing when it's actually ignited and on high. So somebody asked me if the fan drew more then. I'm going to turn it back on. It's the exact same, still pulling 59.7, it's not changed. says 59.8. It's still the same. Yeah, it doesn't matter whether you're on low, medium, or high. It pulls 59.7 watts basically, so about 60 watts. Let it run there a second and we'll turn it off. And then we'll compare notes here. Alright, I'm going to take y'all off the tripod again. Jostle everybody around. Alright, you'd see that the master is not going to be quite as good on the watts. You're going to be pulling about 12.5 more watts if you want to run that on an inverter. Now on the sound level, the decibels on the Bauer are 83 pretty much all the time. And on the master, are 89 on low and 92 on high. So it just depends on what you can tolerate as far as that goes. The master is a little bit smaller, and that may contribute to the noise level being a little higher because the diameter of the cone is different. And it's probably about the same amount of air getting forced across it because it's still a 60,000 BTU heater on high. Okay. Now on the temperature, we're very similar. If I'd have checked the number 2 setting on here, I'd have probably come up with the same thing that I did on low for the Bauer. 830 Fahrenheit, and on high is 1085. And on the master, on low, because this happens to have 3 settings, 692 degrees Fahrenheit, and on high 1088. So you can see that on high, they're going to burn the same amount of propane. You're not going to save propane, you know, with one unit versus the other when you have them setting on high. Now, I still like the master a bit better. You know, for me, I've never really noticed the sound difference. It's never really bothered me. Of course, I guess you could say I'm used to a lot of loud noises. But for some people, you know, being basically 6 decibels higher on low and 9 decibels higher just about it on high, that's pretty significant to some people. And temperature, that's not going to make any difference to anybody. But as I've already went over, what makes a difference to me is I can turn the gas off right here. So if I wanted my bottle sitting outside, I don't have to go out that door and go all the way around my shop to shut this valve off to turn this heater off properly. I can just reach over here and turn it off when I don't need heat for a little while, or when I want it to be, you know, quieter in here so I don't lose my sanity, as some of you would say. I just walk over here and just turn it off and unplug it. Or I do have them little inline flip switches, or you can plug it into a power strip where you can flip it off. And that way you don't have to be plugging and unplugging, you know. So for that purpose, I like the master better, but I don't like it that the igniter runs all the time. Now, a guy could drill a hole here, and he could put him a push button in there, and he could wire that igniter up on a momentary push button, just like the Bauer, and I may do that. That's a good idea. I might do that, because there's no need in that igniter continuing to function after the heater is already lit. If there's not some kind of safety feature in there to keep me from doing that, I'm going to do that. I'm going to drill me a hole and go ahead and put me a momentary button on that igniter. And at that point, the only way I can make this heater any better is to go ahead and put an on-off switch for the fan. Of course, if you've got this heater plugged into a power strip or something, you'd flip it off that way, so that don't make any difference. Now, do I think the Bauer is a safe heater? Yes, I think it's dependable, and I think it's safe enough. I just don't like that you have to go outside and turn off your gas valve to turn the heater off properly. But I did perform a shutdown on it, as if you just turned the electricity off, and you see that the gas does stop flowing. So there is some electronic juju in there going on to shut off the gas when the fan stops running. That's important. I wouldn't guarantee it that it would do that every time. I mean, the right way to do it is to go out and shut your bottle off, and I do recommend you have your bottles outside and not have them inside your building that you're heating like I do. I mean, that's really just not a good idea. But, you know, I know these are not leaking, and I checked them good. I didn't spray soapy water on them. I just listened to them and smelled. You know, if it's leaking any propane, you're going to smell it, you know, especially if you leave it on a few minutes. But that doesn't take the place of soapy water. Use soapy water to check your valves. I still like the Master better, even though it's louder. It's been over a year since I bought the Bauer, and I still have it. So, of course, I'm going to keep it. I actually own 2 of the Masters. I had bought a second one when Tractor Supply marked them down. I got the second one for, I don't know, $95 or something. I give like $88 for this one, but they went up. The only reason I still had a manual for the Master is because the other one's still brand new in the box, and I went and opened the box and got the manual so I could, you know, see what it says inside the manual about where you're supposed to use this heater, because I had a couple of fellers that asked me that. So there's what I think of the Bauer heater and the Master heater on these forced air heaters. If you can't get the Master and you can get the Bauer, it's fine. Just know that you're going to have to go outside and turn off your gas valve, unless you rig up a valve right there at the end of the hose where the hose goes into the unit. Then you could shut your gas off right there if you wanted to. You could put you a brass ball valve right there maybe. I don't know if them are, you know, some kind of special thread only for Bauer or not. I'd have to check that. I don't think they are. I think they're just a 3/8 compression. You'd have to have a valve that had a 3/8 female compression on one side and a male compression on the other, and then you could put that. I think they make that valve. I think I looked it up. So you could put a valve on that one. But by the time you spend $20 on a brass valve, you could have just had the Master. But if you're picky and you want it to be quieter, you could go with a Bauer and put you a valve on it. I believe I am going to add me a button on this Master so that the igniter's not running all the time, though, because it's just going to wear the igniter out, just sitting there, tick, 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 tick. I mean, the whole time it's running, the igniter's running, and I don't like that. It is one thing I don't like about the Master. Anyway, thank y'all for watching. If y'all get either one of these heaters and you're using them in an enclosed space, whether you're working in the house or in the shop, just use good judgment and be safe. Y'all take it easy and consider giving me a like and subscribe if you want to hear more of my rambling.